Surprisingly, I'm not dead and buried after all I've been through. My story told here on Left Turn Chronicles.
Left Turn Chronicles. This is the podcast, and I am your host, Dea Lee, and I am so excited to be a part of this unique journey with Phoenix, who is the creator of this podcast. Now, Left Turn Chronicles will give you an intimate view into Phoenix's life. And viewers, let me tell you, it is raw, captivating, and at times it is heartbreaking. But before we start to unpack Phoenix's chronicles, I have to ask Phoenix, why share your story this way and why now?
Well, first of all, let me say I am glad to be here and I am sharing this journey. I'm going to explain why. I have a lot of stuff on my mind over the years, a lot of stuff I've been keeping back, the stuff that I've been through, and I think it's time that I get it off of my chest. I've been keeping a lot of secrets and a lot of pain that I've been through, and it's time to release and let it go, I'm at that age right now, and you know what they say, where stress can cause different sicknesses and all that, including mental health issues. So it's really important for me to let it go. I need to get it off my chest. I really do need to.
Amen. Okay. And why this forum?
I think that it would be best to share it especially for a lot of upcoming people that are facing they're going through the same thing. A lot of people go overseas and trying to make a better life, and it is just challenging, and they end up going down the wrong road. And I think that it is very important I learn that family and peace of mind is best.
Absolutely.
Don't go chasing that the materialistic stuff, and and not only that, but you have people that have gone through this already. So not even the ones that possibly going to face it, but ones who have gone through it and know the pain that I'm talking about, who have lost family members, lost good friends, or even lose themselves.
Exactly.
What I mean, right?
Exactly.
So, yep.
Yeah. And definitely the time is now. There's no time like the present. So
Right.
I am uber excited to be a part of this journey, and I can't wait for us to unpack and hear about your chronicles, Phoenix. So thank you so much for opening up and sharing all of this, because I'm sure that it will be a blessing for those who are listening and a blessing for you as well.
Yeah.
So to dive in, I remember you mentioned that at age 11, just after passing your exams, you went to a boarding school and you were convicted and charged with a crime. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The thing is, sometimes when I think back at these things, I can't do anything but laugh, because just remembering what I've been through, especially at an early age. Thing is that back then we used to do common entrance exams to go to high school. So I took my exams, and that was the thing to do. Everybody would try to go to a prominent high school. And I actually went to a prep school. I started at a prep school. So, it was, a good family, good background and all that. And everybody, you try to go to a prominent high school, which I did pass for. And went to a high school on the western side of Jamaica. And so while when I went to that school now, I stayed at the boarding school. So I'd only come up maybe on the weekends.
Okay.
Right. So the thing is that they have, it's kind of like in the US they call it hazing. So like when you go into the military and stuff, they'll call it, you go through hazing where new students would have to go through a certain amount of, in Jamaica, we call it grubbings. Jamaican people would understand, and maybe Caribbean people would call it grubbings, where, you harass the new students, you either toothpaste them, or, you do things to them. You polish them, use shoe polish their face, that kind of stuff.
Now,
So,
before you get into that, and Lord, we can't wait to hear it. But before you get into that, tell me a little bit about your family life, because you said that you guys came from a good family home. So, what was that family home like? And this is in Jamaica, correct? All of this took place in Jamaica. Okay,
that's right. So, starting off, let me start off. Grandparents, great grandparents. Grandfather used to work for the government of Jamaica. Grandmother was a stay-home grandmother. She raised 7 kids, which one of them was my mother. And my mother ended up, she met my father, and they both got into good jobs, good careers and all that. My father used to run a rent-a-car company.
nice.
And my mom used to work for the government also, Jamaica Tourist Board.
Wow.
But she was in charge of certain departments, I think the whole cruise ship industry and all of that. So, good family. Went to a good school. I was, I grew up as an only child. I was the only child in the house.
Okay.
From my parents. The only child for both parents. Had good friends and all that. We really did lived a good life. Went on vacations. I was fortunate to start traveling from early, from I was about 7, my first trip. I remember I went to England by myself to visit my aunt over there. So I had a really good life, and then, went to as I said, pass my exams and went to boarding school.
Now you passed at 9, was it?
It was around 10 because
10.
my whole incident happened. Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah, because back then we could graduate if you were bright enough. They would put you ahead, so it didn't matter about the year, how old you are. If you were excelling, you could go out, you could sit the exam early and go forward. So somewhere around there, and 9, 10, somewhere around there. I can't remember the exact age, but went on. That was my first time really. Well, first time living away from my parents. Cause I go on vacation, and sometimes even in the summer, like when I was much younger, I used to go to the country to visit my grandfather and grandmother. But living away, where I actually had to take care of myself.
Yeah. So how was it for you? I mean, that experience, you're 10, call it 10, 11.
Right.
What was that like for you?
It was shocking. It was shocking at first, but at the same time, I wanted to be, again, my independence there. So I wanted to kind of show my family also that I was capable of, I'd say, let them say you're a big man now, so I want to prove that. And it did good for me because we had it was kind of like being in the military, you had to get up early in the morning, you make up your bed, we have an hour designated for study time.
Okay.
Then you have breakfast, then you get back and you get ready to go to school. So it was kind of a militant environment, and then, we had to show up, and then, you have your morning devotions like most schools back then. And, so it was, and then, in the evenings you come home now, like about 4 o'clock, they had study time So we had designated times to study, and to everything was organized and a routine, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
it kind of set my life, and it kind of molded me into the person that that I became, because I'm very organized. I'm a very organized person. Everything has to be planned out, and which people who have been in the military and been to boarding school understand exactly what I'm talking about.
And I'm guessing that you were a good student. It sounds like you really settled in and kind of found your groove while you were there.
Yeah. I mean, until this whole unfortunate incident happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I was finding my way through as and I made friends, and it was pretty good. It was
Okay.
pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. So now that we laid the groundwork, and tell us about the incident and how it transpired.
Okay. So I think I was there a year, maybe a year. 'Cause it's been so long ago, I don't remember the 100% details, but I'm gonna give you everything that I can remember. So I remember maybe I was there about a year. Yeah, it must have been, because it was a new set of students coming in that came in. They were 1 year younger than me. Or sometimes even mid-year, we have students that transfer. I got transferred. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure if it was 1 year or full year or somebody got transferred. But I remember there was a new set of boarders there. And there was this particular one. Well, we decided that, okay, we're going to grub these students. So, which is the hazing and thing. So, the first night and thing would toothpaste them and polish them. And there's a particular one that would always say, they would act like, oh, you didn't get me, or that is nothing to me. That is, and to us, he was boasting about it. So whereas the other students would kind of, take what they get, and them don't say much and thing. He would always be the one boasting, saying, hey, it didn't affect me, it didn't. So we decided, so after doing everything as far as throwing water in his bed at night, toothpasting him, polishing him, doing all of that stuff, nothing, he act like nothing. So we said, okay, that night now we got some louvers out of the window, and we decided that we were going to slap him across the back of his legs, his thighs.
For our listeners who don't know what louvers are, can you describe?
It's the window pane. It's a window pane. It's the board, that, because these were board windows. So there's right, a board. Some panes have glass. Some are glass. So some are board. So these are the where you open and close for the windows.
Okay.
So it's just a flat piece of board. And right. So yeah, took that out, and there was a couple of us, and we decided that we were going to slap him across his legs. Where there's no way, we decided that there's no way he can say that he didn't feel that, or it didn't affect him or anything like that. Only to realize, well, after we went that night, and we did it, and we gave him 2 good slaps across, the lower part of the bed. The next morning, we woke up early, and there is a teacher that lives at the boarding house. He's kind of like the in charge of the boarding house,
right.
Look over the students. And he was there shouting at the top of his voice, and down the aisle of the dorm we sleep at, and he was saying, whichever one of you did this, we're going to find you. We're going to find. So I was wondering what is going on. So got up and looked, and the guy that we had slapped with the louver had his head wrapped up, and there was some bleeding going on. And we were kind of shocked because we're like, what the hell is going on? Why is his head bleeding? We didn't even know what was going on at the time. Why is his head bleeding? So come to find out that night he switched positions. He put his head down at where his foot would be and covered his head up and put his foot up by where his head's supposed to be. So when we slapped him with the louver boards, we got his head and not his thighs or not his calves. So it was his head.
Oh man.
That got damaged and busted his eye.
Oh my God.
Because the corner of one of the louvers went into, busted out his eye. So, this is something that I really regret. This is not something that I am proud about or anything in any sense, because that was not the intention.
Right.
That was really not the intention of all who was involved. We were young kids and we did something dumb and stupid. So investigations took place. The police got involved. So so they did their investigations and all of that, and eventually it was, they found out that it was us that we did it. And then, well, actually, all the blame came on me.
Oh wow.
Because the other guy that I was with, this is, as we talk further in my journey, you're going to hear a lot more about snitching and rats. But that was my first experience with somebody snitching on me. And so they gave me up. They gave me up to the police, and they wanted to. The police acted like they wanted to arrest me and all of that, but because of my age and all of that, and I think the principal was the one that says, well, you can't do that because his parents are not here, and he needs representation, and you can't just take him away and lock him up in the jail without. So I think the principal was the one, he said, although he did something or whatever, but you have to be fair. So anyway.
So Phoenix, just to ask you, how many guys were there that night when the incident took place? And when did the police, did they show up the next day and everything took place where they wanted to remand you?
Yes. If it's not the next day, it was at least no more than 2 days later. Because they took him to the hospital first. So I think the first day was days of treatment and all of that. And then when they realized the extent of the injury and all of that, I think that was when the police was called in. So it might not have been the first day, it might at least maybe the second day.
Second day, yeah.
Right. So, and it was three of us that night, but one stood as a lookout. He stood by the dorm door and looking out to make sure that, because night that's what the teacher that stays there, I forget what we used to call him. I call him dorm master, dorm, I don't remember. But he was in charge. So sometimes he would get up in the middle of the night and just walking through.
Right.
To make sure that's right. So the third guy was kind of a lookout. He was not in the actual room with us. But then the one that was in there with me, he's the one that totally gave me up and say, that I did it, and he was just standing there. And so anyway, there was, I ended up getting the whole blame for everything.
Did you try to say it differently? When
Well, from how they were talking and all of that, because I was I remember I was young, and I was shocked of what everything was going on, getting threatened with jail and with all of that, and so I was in a state of confusion. I didn't even know what to say from what not to say, and I was just lost. I was just, because you have these officers shouting at me, and you blind the man, you blind, you go to jail, you blind the man, and it's just just confusion.
Yeah, 11, that's a lot to process.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm not looking, really and truly not looking for sympathy for anybody, because I know I did wrong, but at the same time, it was a mistake, and I was young, and that was not the intention. That was definitely not the intention. So so it ended up like that, and I took the blame for it. So of course I had like 3 stages to deal with, because no, it's not just the police, but then the school was talking about expelling me from school, kicking me out of school. So now we're talking about my parents probably having to go try and get me in another school, and leaving all the friends and everything that I know to go start a whole different company. I'd have to end up going to another school as an outcast in the middle of a school year. Or the big, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I was worried about a lot of things. And then with all of that, the parents of the young man was definitely threatening with charges. With charges that they want to somehow, what can they do? What can they this, that, and so, so my mom and her dad got a good attorney. And it more became a civil matter instead of them like pursuing the jail time or the whatever you call it, or whether sending them into a boys' home or whatever. They were more interested in for financial, for money. So they definitely wanted coverage for whatever medical expense, and they wanted money for whatever damages and all of that. Kind of like they're suing for to get money. So yeah, and then so the first thing that happened was, after a lot of negotiations and all of that.
But before you get to the negotiations, how did your parents find out, and how did they react? Because I'm seeing this story in my head now. I'm like, oh my God, you're so young, right? And all of this takes place, and then your parents get this call where your child did such and such. So what was it like for you when they came, or when you went back to them, not sure which way? What happened?
All right, Lee, let me tell you. Well, my peeps, thanks for listening, and remember to tune in to the next engaging episode. And don't let the left turns in your life deter you from going right.